Hi, and welcome everyone. I'm Susan Greeley, the National Director of Wellness Services at Castle Connolly Private Health Partners. Thank you all for joining me this evening for what will be my last SENS Wellness webinar of 2021. Now that's rather hard to believe. So I'm letting people log in, and I just have a few things to go over, a couple of details before we get started. These SENS Wellness webinars are intended to educate and support all of our members. And tonight, as always, it is my goal to truly inspire and empower all of you to make some positive lifestyle choices and improve your overall health and well-being. So that said, I'll go over just a few details about tonight's webinar as well. We are recording the webinar, and we record all of our SENS Wellness webinars. We'll be sending out the recording of tonight's webinar with a copy of the slides, so look out for that. And I will be including a special offer from our newest affinity partner, Manki, which you'll be learning about this evening. We will also have some polling questions during tonight's webinar that I'd love for you to participate in, and there will be a Q&A at the end as well. So feel free to submit questions at any point during tonight's webinar. Now, great, people I think have, joining in. We'll go ahead and get started with the webinar. So once again, thank you for joining me, and welcome to everyone for this pre-Thanksgiving SENS Wellness webinar. And I'm Susan Greeley, the National Director of Wellness Services at Castle Connolly Private Health Partners. So I'm very excited about tonight's webinar on the Green Mediterranean diet. And I think you'll come to discover that it just might be your new secret weight loss weapon. Or at a minimum, it's simply a plant-focused, very powerful diet that has a lot of health-promoting benefits for everyone. So I'm happy to introduce my two guests tonight. And the first up is Amy Myrtle Miller. She is the founder and president at Farmer's Daughter Consulting in Carmichael, California. Amy is an award-winning dietitian and farmer's daughter from North Dakota. Amy is a public speaker, an author, and president of Farmer's Daughter Consulting, which is an agriculture, food, and a culinary communications firm. Amy's career includes working for the Dole Food Company, the California Walnut Board and Commission, and the Culinary Institute of America. Today, Amy consults with a variety of clients across the food system. She's currently working on a cookbook focused on cardiovascular health that is called Cooking a la Heart. That will be released in September of 2022. Amy earned her Bachelor of Science in Dietetics at the University of California in Davis, and she earned her Master's of Science at Tufts University Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy. She lives with her husband, Scott Miller, in Carmichael, California. My next guest is Jeff Miller, and Jeff is the founder and co-CEO of Cutting Edge Innovation, which is a firm that advises on food industry strategy, sales, business development, and innovation. Jeff has spent more than 20 years in the food and beverage industry, driving sales by creating world-class teams and products. And most recently, he was the vice president and executive chef at Dunkin' Brands. In that role, Jeff directed a team of 22 chefs, food scientists, bakers, and coffee experts, and led the global innovation and product development for all of Dunkin' and Baskin-Robbins products. Jeff has appeared on the Food Network's Rewrapped as a judge, MSNBC's Up with Steve Kornacki, and he has even made Thanksgiving turkey with NFL star Rob Gronkowski. He has made many other local, national, and social media appearances as well. Jeff received his professional culinary training at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, and he spent his early career working at restaurants in New York City. So all that said, again, I'm thrilled to welcome Amy and Jeff to join me this evening for this webinar, and I love the timing of this webinar. I hope it helps many people keep their waistlines from expanding this holiday season. And with that, I'm going to kick off tonight's webinar with our first polling question.
Oh, Susan, what a fun question with Thanksgiving coming up next week. So I'm going to be spending Thanksgiving with my mother-in-law. I don't think I'm going to press the first option on the poll. I'm curious which button you're going to push.
I was waiting for an all of the above option, but also for those of us who have to cook, I mean, I think we might have our own little favorites.
I'm torn. Yeah, we're wondering where the pie fans are. I'm kind of shocked. Seriously, only one. I might, if I could vote,
Is
maybe I
turkey
would.
skin an option? Can I do turkey skin?
The funny thing is, I think most of us agree the side dishes win. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
Good
good
thing,
news
Jeff.
for today's webinar, right?
Yeah, I was going to say good thing, Jeff.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing the results on my screen. Are you guys seeing them? Oh, there they are. Yeah, I love all the side dishes. Okay, almost half the group with us. We had a few people who love seeing family. That's awesome. And I think we have a few liars out there. I'm pretty sure there are more of you that love the pie. You just don't want to admit it in front of Susan. All right, let's move forward. So Susan, you were super gracious in our introductions tonight. Jeff and I are so happy all of you have joined us here tonight. We're going to talk about the green Mediterranean diet. We're going to share some of the secrets. We've got lots of tips. And you heard our intros already, but you may have noticed that we both share the last name Miller. We're not married. We live on opposite coasts. We're not even related, but we're very good friends, and we're super excited to be collaborating on sharing a bunch of what we hope is very inspiring information for you this evening. So I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to share some information on the history and some of the very interesting behind the scenes stories behind the research on the Mediterranean diet and health. I'm then going to introduce you to Manki, which is this new, but not really new vegetable that relates to the green Mediterranean diet. We'll share some of the latest research coming out of those studies. And then Jeff's going to share some of his tips for how do you do this? How do you use this vegetable Manki and incorporate it into your daily eating pattern? We'll take some questions about halfway through, you know, kind of finger on the pulse of see how you guys are doing with this information. Then I'm going to share a little bit of info on the green Mediterranean diet and diabetes. November is Diabetes Awareness Month. And so we kind of just want to get you thinking a little bit more about that chronic disease. If you've avoided it, kudos. If you're you have pre-diabetes, let's talk about it. If you currently have diabetes, you can live very well with it. I've done it 43 years with type 1. And then we're kind of saving the best for last. Jeff gets to be the hero. He's going to do a few culinary demos at the end. So if you need some new inspiration for your holiday menu, Jeff's got them. And then of course, we've got some more time for Q&A at the end. So the Mediterranean diet and health. Okay, people have been eating a traditional Mediterranean diet for thousands of years, but it's not all one dietary pattern. It really varies depending on where people live. We know that the first formal research on the Mediterranean diet started in the late 1950s. There was this researcher at the University of Minnesota who wanted to look at how people's, dietary patterns, their lifestyle habits would impact their cardiovascular health. So he collaborated with a group of researchers around the world. And keep in mind, this wasn't that far after the end of World War II. We had a lot of countries that had really suffered during the war, had extreme rates of poverty, food insecurity. We also had countries like Finland, very cold climate with very different eating patterns than a country like Italy with a much milder climate, especially in the southern part of the country. So you can see here the 7 countries. And these ongoing research studies were designed to evaluate associations between how people ate, their lifestyle habits, like were they smokers, did they get much exercise, and their cardiovascular health. And this is where we got the first findings that, hey, if you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you have diabetes, and you smoke, you're at higher risk for heart disease. And these were universal risk factors. It didn't matter what country people lived in, these put you at higher risk of heart disease. But they started to notice that the diet in the countries maybe had some protective effects. One of the most interesting findings was that in Greece, people in Greece in the late 1950s ate the most vegetables. And I'm saying a lot more vegetables than people in any other country. And one of the things that they were eating were not necessarily vegetables purposely grown for human consumption, but people had been foraging wild greens. So things like dandelion greens, what we think of are irritating like lawn weeds, These were rich sources of nutrition for people in very poor parts of the world. And the Greeks found ways to make them super delicious. And you've got a little idea there with that olive oil of what makes the Greeks love their green leafy vegetables. They use a lot of olive oil. Yeah, this image from Chef Diane Kochilas, a friend of mine. Yeah, she's got a little bit of delicious cheese on top of there, but it's mostly greens, a little bit of rice, and the Greeks were killing it on vegetable consumption. And I've heard researchers, nutritional epidemiologists from Greece talk about this. And one of them jokingly has always said, we don't love vegetables more than anybody else does. We just know how to cook them so they're super delicious and we want to keep eating them. So keep that in mind. Eating and loving vegetables isn't about like deprivation and low fat cooking. It's making sure the fat you're using is very high quality plant-based fat, and extra virgin olive oil has part of the secrets of the Mediterranean diet and why it's so protective for our health. So we've got another poll question for you. If you guys missed out on the first part, you missed the Thanksgiving poll, you can now share your answer very quickly. Our next question here is, I eat dark leafy greens most days, so yes or no? Susan, I think I know how you voted on this one. I'm curious how Jeff, responded on this one. I think I know his answer too. I'm kind of a leafy greens geeky girl. I love them. I had a big old bowl of spinach this morning for breakfast because I was cooking with it last night. I had extra from a recipe I was testing, so I just ate it this morning along with some other breakfast items. All right, do we have some results coming in? All right, this is awesome. So the majority of our audience tonight, you guys, this is great. This is making Susan and my dietitian's hearts very happy. Awesome. Okay, come on. So as we move along this history of Mediterranean diet research, I'm sure there are many in the audience who remember the 60 Minutes French Paradox story that Morley Safer did in 1991, where there was just, oh, mon Dieu, these French people are drinking so much wine and eating so much cheese and butter, and they smoke more than we do in the US, and they have lower rates of heart disease, and how can this be fair? And there were a lot of people who were kind of puzzled over this. I will tell you, as a Californian today, the California wine industry was like, huzzah, we're going to be able to sell a lot more wine. And they did. But the secret wasn't just in the French drinking red wine. It was their attitudes about food and nutrition, but also their overall dietary pattern. And the French were doing something that many people in many countries with lower rates of heart disease do. They eat more plant-based foods. They eat more foods that have more of what are called phenols. This is a big umbrella term for compounds that plants naturally produce that have protective benefits for the plants as well as for us humans. So here we show a variety of fruits and vegetables in the upper left. We've got whole grains. There are beneficial phenols in the outer hull of the whole grains. We've got lentils of all different colors, beneficial phenols in there of different classes. As we move down this middle column here, the top one is green tea, followed by Manki, that you're going to learn more about tonight, and walnuts. And the green tea, Manki, and walnuts are all part of that green Mediterranean diet research. So hold tight. I'll share more info on that in just a moment. We've also got things like coffee berries up there on the top, regular berries. I hope that we've got a lot of berry eaters in the audience tonight. We've got spices and herbs, and then coffee, which is one of the top sources of phenols in the form of antioxidant compounds in the US diet today. And you know what? I screwed up. That's cacao, that's chocolate on the bottom, and then coffee on the top. So anyway, whoo, okay, I definitely don't need more coffee. So, what's the benefit in these all of these plant-based foods? There's lots of benefits, but the phenols are one part of that rich story. Okay, we've got one more poll for you. Actually, we've got two more, but one more in rapid succession here. So this poll question has a lot more options. This is where we want to get to the heart of all of you and which phenol-containing foods you love, or maybe you don't. So are you a red wine gal? Do you love berries? Do you really dig into your dark leafy greens? Are you like snacking on nuts like a little squirrel? Are you just like a coffee person and that's like, oh, I need more coffee? Do you love tea? Do you love all of these? Or you're not really into any of them? So let's hear from all of you. So I just voted, and I voted based on what I most want right now.
I'm glad there was an all option on this one, Amy, if I'm not giving myself away too much.
Yeah, no, it's hard to choose, right? Right? Like there's so many things there that we get excited about as food lovers and culinary professionals. Oh, okay. So we've got great diversity here in the group. And I see, wait a minute, I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm gonna see here. Okay, only a few folks don't eat or drink any of these. So we've got folks who are probably already really embracing a Mediterranean eating style, and you're just here for a little more information to make you a little bit more knowledgeable. That's awesome. For folks who maybe aren't there yet, Jeff and I are we're gonna help you find one way to make this true, to get you a little closer to a Mediterranean habit. So one of the other things that all of this research on the Mediterranean dietary pattern has shown is that people eat a lot more plant-based foods in Mediterranean patterns, and their diets contain a lot less of things like sugar sweetened beverages, high sodium foods that block a fat that's supposed to be artificially created trans fats. Good news there, our US food industry has almost eliminated trans fats from our food system. So we've got a lot to celebrate there. I will tell you the one sneaky source where it still exists, frosting on those supermarket cakes. Like if you get that massive sheet cake at Costco, that's where there's some trans fats hiding. Added sugar, and then I had to put in donuts, right? Because Jeff used to work for, well, you know, he was a donut king for a while, let's be honest. But yeah, so, you know, it's not that we're saying never eat this. Yeah, it's got the big red, you know, over it, but it's just like thinking about the proportions in a diet. I don't want anybody feeling bad about enjoying pie next week on Thanksgiving. You know, that's not why I'm here. It's just thinking about how much and how often. And so moving these to a less often, smaller amount category and increasing your intake of plant-based foods, especially those super rich sources of phenols, is really important for your health and well-being. So as we're continuing our walk through history of Mediterranean diet research, one of the biggest randomized controlled trials, so a lot of the research is what's called epidemiology research. You look back at what people did over time and you look at their health outcomes and you see maybe there's a there, but this study called PREDIMED was designed by researchers in Spain to really test if you can get people to eat a Mediterranean diet pattern, will there be some significant outcomes? So they got almost 7,500 men and women ages 55 to 80 enrolled. These were people at very high risk for cardiovascular disease. They either already had type 2 diabetes or they had 3 or more risk factors, meaning they were already overweight or obese, they were smokers, they had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, on and on. And they were divided, randomized into 3 groups. People asked to eat a low-fat diet. They were already eating a Mediterranean style, so it was hard to get that group to really change their diet. But the next group, traditional Mediterranean diet, they were given a liter of olive oil a week. And I have to pull out my notes here so I get this right. This is really significant because that 1 liter of olive oil was meant not only for the study and the person enrolled in the study, but everybody in that household. Well, these were older Spanish citizens. The average household size was 1.6 people. A liter of olive oil contains over 8,000 calories. That meant that for everybody in the house, it was an additional 720 calories per person per day because of that olive oil. Okay, keep that in mind. These people were already overweight, at risk of heart disease. Or people were given an ounce of nuts a day. It was a mix of walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. That ounce of nuts, about 160 to 180 calories. So a difference there in the extra calories people got between the olive oil and nut group. What they found is that the risk of heart disease, how many people had heart attacks, strokes, or other significant events, dropped by 30% compared to people in the control diet. This was so significant, they had to stop the study early. It was unethical for them to continue testing if this worked when part of the group wasn't getting the treatment that did work. These weren't people that lost weight. They made some changes to their diet by making foods more delicious with extra virgin, well, it wasn't even extra virgin. It was olive oil, or eating nuts, and they reduce the risk of heart disease. So this isn't about weight loss necessarily. It's about making your diet as beneficial as possible. The other part of this that they found is that the people who ate the most nuts, so the ones in that third group who were most compliant, like they actually ate their quarter cup of nuts a day, and they drank very little sugar sweetened beverages, had the least abdominal obesity. So again, another interesting finding. People think that eating nuts, a fatty food, is that going to make me fat? No. Drinking sugar sweetened beverages, perhaps. So, and abdominal obesity, naughty, naughty. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. So just a reminder, what does the Mediterranean diet look like from a whole? This is called a Mediterranean diet pyramid, but note that the base of it is having some fun in your life, getting a little bit of activity, enjoying meals with people you love. Then it's all those plant-based foods and ingredients, some seafood, some other animal products there, and then very little meats and sweets. Little wine in moderation, drink lots of water. Okay, so now we're moving into the green Mediterranean diet part. And the green Mediterranean diet I mentioned was green tea plus walnuts plus Manki added to a Mediterranean diet. Well, what's this Manki? It's this tiny, mighty, nutrient-dense vegetable that's a good source of protein. And the research has shown it's not only good protein, but our bodies can absorb it and use it. Also contains bioavailable iron. So iron we can absorb and use, fiber, B12, choline, which is a really interesting nutrient that benefits our brain as well as our heart, many other essential nutrients, and lots of these beneficial polyphenols. So Manki, there's been so much research done on it. It's kind of unusual for a single vegetable to have this much research done on it. And it's amazing. When I say it's the world's smallest green leafy vegetable, this little spoon that you see on the side there, that is, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of leaves. Each leaf is 0.5 millimeter at maturity. And you'll learn more about Manki from Jeff in a few moments. So green Mediterranean diet, what's it all about? The study that looked at the green Mediterranean diet was called Direct Plus. This was done with just 300 people, but in a very controlled environment in Israel. And people there were randomized into 3 groups. So you had the healthy diet group, and this study was different from Predimed. They actually did want people to lose some weight in this study. So the healthy diet group was given some general advice. They were encouraged to exercise, and they were given a great incentive. They were given a gym membership, and giving that incentive is important because often control groups feel like they're getting nothing and there's no incentive to do anything. So the healthy diet group got that gym membership. The Mediterranean diet group, these folks were asked to eat a quarter cup of walnuts every day. They were given the walnuts in these little packets and encouraged to exercise. And then the green Mediterranean diet group, they were given the walnuts. They were given Manki, 100 grams, which is about 3.5 of these cubes that you'll see from Jeff in a moment. And then they were asked to drink 3 to 4 cups of green tea every day and encouraged to exercise. Those people, man, they made a lot of requests with them, but compliance was very high. And here's what they found out. People in the Mediterranean diet group who were given more specific advice on how to cut calories, they had success. They were losing about 0.5 pound a week, so about 12 pounds on average over the 6 months of this study. But the people in the green Mediterranean diet lost more of that weight around their waist. They lost more of that naughty, naughty abdominal fat. Here are some of the other benefits the researchers thought. Drops in LDL cholesterol, more so than the Mediterranean diet. Bigger effect on dropping blood pressure, bigger effect on reducing insulin resistance, which is a risk factor for developing diabetes. And then this 10-year Framingham risk score, this is just an evaluation that health professionals can do to say, what's this patient or person's risk of having a heart attack in the next 10 years, heart attack or stroke. So a lot of benefits to this, dietary pattern. So I'm going to share some tips here, then I'm going to kick it over to Jeff. And this is just like, the tip sheet, right? If I was giving you a handout in a busy clinic, I'd say, try a morning smoothie. And we'll talk at the end why I'm such a big fan of smoothies. And you're going to get some recipes from Jeff here in a minute. but try a morning smoothie with Manki. How about some green tea as a mid-morning little pick-me-up? How about an afternoon snack of walnuts? There's some really great research out of Harvard that shows people who eat the most nuts, about 5 handfuls, 5 ounces, a little over a cup of nuts a week, they have the lowest risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So snacking on nuts is good for you. Thinking about how you shop and cook and order at restaurants, try to get more fruits and vegetables, all forms. Don't be shaming like a frozen product or a canned product. All fruit and vegetables in all forms are awesome. Another research study, people who eat the most fruits and vegetables in all forms have the lowest risk of heart disease. Thinking about things like beans, lentils, chickpeas, again, a different class of plant-based foods that have different phenols from the fruit and vegetable cousins. Getting more whole grains. Thinking about healthy fats. Don't think about going low fat, eliminating fat, but think about using the best possible fat you can, like an extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin means it's got higher levels of these beneficial phenols. If you take a little spoonful of it and it makes you cough once, twice, 3 times, the more you cough, the more phenols. And then finally, lifestyle habits. Are you getting enough sleep? And is it good quality sleep? And is anybody out there wincing because you know you're probably not? It's been a big problem during the pandemic. Sleep quantity and quality has been suffering here in the US. Getting a daily walk, it's a good way to get a little activity. It also helps us sleep better. It's a good way to relieve some stress from our very stressful lives. And then, my gosh, when I call Jeff Miller for business, it's usually not for business. It's so that we can laugh, because enjoying food and laughter with friends and family, critically important to our well-being. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go to Jeff's kitchen out there in Boston.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Amy. I really appreciate that. Nice to meet everyone. Welcome into my kitchen here in the Boston area. I'm glad Amy brought up smoothies, because I wanted to start by sharing a couple of ways to get green into your diet in an easy way that I really, really enjoy. And we've got 2 recipes, very, very simple to make. In fact, you'll notice a lot of commonality of ingredients throughout all the recipes tonight. So with a few more ingredients in your pantry, you can make a lot of new items. Now, Amy mentioned Manki, which is this beautiful, cool little super tiny, mighty green that we have. I'm going to try to hold it up there. The cubes are frozen, and there's thousands of individual little plants in there. And what's really neat about that is, you look at that and you're like, what is that? Think about each little tiny plant as its own little head of lettuce or its own stalk of broccoli. That's what we mean when we say it's its own vegetable, it's its own plant. And so you want to drive as much of that into your smoothie as possible. And I think there's a couple things that I would say are the main benefits. One is it's very neutral in taste. It looks dark green, right? But it's not it's not going to taste like a frozen block of spinach. It's got this very light green flavor to it that really lends itself to a lot of cuisine and a lot of different dishes. So the first smoothie, and I believe, Susan, we have a recipe sheet that we're going to share with everyone on the webinar that has all of the different recipes and amounts. But this is a apple banana Manki smoothie. So can you guess what the ingredients are? This is a tough one. We've got a half of a Granny Smith apple. I would just chop this up. I like to leave the skin on. A banana, peeled for sure. Some ice water. It was ice water at the start. I swear it was about a cup of ice water. And then this is kind of a fun ingredient. If you don't use it a lot, some pitted dates. Pitted dates you're going to find at just about every grocery store. High in fiber. Chop these up. I'm going to put 3 into here, and I'm going to save everyone from the blending noise on the Zoom call here. We've all had enough background noise from different Zoom calls, and it makes this beautifully dark forest green smoothie, and it's absolutely so sweet and delicious. And I smell this, and what I really smell are the dates and the banana and the apple, and it's just so sorry, I got to do it because I'm starving. And it's delicious, it's sweet, and it's going to this is one of those ones you make and you surprise everybody who tries it, because it does not taste how it looks. It looks dark forest green. It's packed with all these nutrients. Amy, you mentioned that the Mediterranean diet study, the Green Mediterranean diet study, they had 100 grams of Manki. This smoothie has just about 100 grams of Manki in it. So it's a really simple way in the morning to do that. Here's another one. So if you're like, all right, that might be a little too dark green for me, I want something a little bit lighter. This one is cut with a little bit of spinach. So in this smoothie, we've got a cup of packed spinach. Ooh, I got to get my TV hands here going here. Cup of packed spinach. We've got some ginger. Ginger root is peeled and diced. A pinch of cinnamon, not that much that we don't need a cinnamon challenge going here. Just a pinch of cinnamon in the smoothie. Again, a banana, right? Some walnuts, about a quarter cup of walnuts is usually the serving size that's recommended. Frozen pineapple, that's where you're going to get your sweetness from. So in the other smoothie, you got some sweetness from dates and from the apple. Well, in this one, you're going to get it from the pineapple and just a little bit of honey. I don't know if you can see that there. It's just a normal clover honey. And then also there's about 6 ounces of a plant-based milk. So this one has a few more ingredients, just absolutely delicious as well. And you can see here, lighter green color. If you want to use real dairy, you can use real dairy. If you want to use ice water, you can use ice water. And it's all substitutable in between. So this one is delicious as well. And these cubes that come from Manki are frozen, so they have plenty of shelf life. You can thaw out only what you need, and all of that packaging is recyclable. So, Amy, I'm gonna kick it back to you, I think. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have a couple more ideas. Hold on.
Yeah, no, Jeff, share some more ideas. I'm just gonna, while you grab stuff, I'm just gonna comment that when I make my Manki smoothie, I don't use the banana, I use an orange. I just like the flavor profile better with a little bit of that citrus flavor in there. And I think, you know, as we're trying to get people to like make a little change in habit, the convenience of having something that's frozen and already portioned out is so awesome. And from like a recipe point of view, 3 cubes, you don't have to weigh it, you don't have to measure it, you grab 3 cubes. So it makes it easy to make this happen.
Yeah.
And what other ideas do you have, Jeff?
Well, that's exactly right. The other thing I like is, you know, I'm just like everybody else. I might be trained as a chef, but I like to do things that are easy and quick for meals. I like to cook dinner as fast as I can so I can sit down and, you know, relax into my evening or in the morning. You know, I like to get started right away. I'm one of those people who wakes up and I want to go. So I don't want to have to take too long to make my breakfast. And one of the things that I really like to do is I have Greek yogurt or Icelandic yogurt in the morning. You can see this here. This is Greek yogurt with Manki stirred in. So that's 1 cube of Manki into a serving size of yogurt with some of those other items that you mentioned on there, right? Berries, Amy. So berries, some homemade granola. This is such an easy way to do it. What I'll do is I'll put a cube of Manki either on a plate or in a bowl the night before or in the morning in the fridge, let it thaw out, just stir it with the yogurt, and we're good to go. I'm telling you again here, you just can't even taste that green in there. It's just such an easy way to incorporate more of that green into your diet. And if you're that kind of person who likes to snack all day, the other thing that you could do is just stir Manki into some hummus. This is just prepared hummus from the grocery store. I made some pita chips. We also love to do this with guacamole as well because it's already green. So just a cube or 2 cubes into, like, let's say it's an 8-ounce package of hummus or a 10-ounce package of guacamole. And it's just absolutely this great, delicious, easy, simple way to drive more green into your diet.
So Jeff, I'll just share that my husband, Scott, is a little suspicious of anything green, but if I take the Manki and I put it in hummus, he's like, oh, this is really good. And he's like talking with his mouth full, the pita chips are falling out, you know, and it's like watching Cookie Monster. So yeah, if any of you have kind of those green phobes in your home, rest assured the deliciousness can be delivered. People can have a great food experience. Okay, I'm going to share the slides again. We're gonna show a few things here. Oh, but hey, we made a promise that we were going to take some questions.
Yes,
So Susan, do we have a few questions?
We have plenty of questions. And so let me jump right in. And many people are asking because they have never heard of Manki. Where do you find it? Where do you find it? How do you get these cubes? So give us, and does it go by any other name? So we'll start with those.
Yeah, so we are super happy that Manki is an affinity partner with Castle Connolly. So there's information on your website about how to get to our website. There's preferred pricing or a discount for Castle Connolly members. And I've got a screen at the end of my presentation that I can leave up for a while so people can get more of that info. I will tell you, the only way to get Manki right now is through the mail. So you place an order on the website and it gets sent right to your house. So it makes it super convenient. Any other questions at this point?
Well, can you explain a little bit more of the background about this plant and why that is the case, Amy? So this isn't something that's growing everywhere on its own, right? And I think that that's the important thing to tell everybody. It's like, where is this coming from?
Yeah,
It's a
no,
really amazing plant.
absolutely. I would be happy to. So Manki, the world's smallest green leafy vegetable, grows on the surface of water. It is not algae. It is a vegetable. And it will take up anything that's in the water. Now, if it's out in the wild, like growing on a pond in Southeast Asia, that's not a good thing. But in controlled indoor environments with a lot of science and technology behind the equipment, Manki is amazing because it is so nutrient rich, because these little plants are like these individual like manufacturing facilities that are trying to pack as much as possible into each little 0.5 millimeter leaf. The name Manki, I've heard a couple different stories of where the name comes from. In Southeast Asia and Vietnam, it's called Kai Nam. Historically, women there have harvested it off, off ponds with these very elegant skimming things made out of reeds. They look like to me in the photos I've seen. So Kai Nam and Manki, you can see how maybe there was a reversal. That's one of the stories that I've heard. And I'm talking in circles now. I'm like forgetting. Oh, I know that when Jeff missed his ice cubes, he's probably already got a cocktail off to the side there.
Not yet, but soon.
Not
soon.
yet.
Glass of wine, of course, in honor of tonight. Yeah, it's really neat. It's this cool plant that actually it's very sustainable. So it uses a very small amount of water. It's farmed indoors in the desert in Israel, actually, and it reproduces itself 7 times. And then just kind of floats to the bottom of the pond. So again, it's just this amazing vegetable that uses little water, that delivers high nutrient content. As Amy mentioned, you can get it online. And why haven't we heard about it before? Well, I'd say because it's sort of been one of those things that's lived in diets in Southeast Asia for a while, but no one ever really took it and saw its potential to really control its nutrient content, farm it, and make it more consistent. That's the thing about food and delivering great food to a lot of people, is how do you make it consistent, and how do you make it consistent in its nutrition profile and in its taste. And taste, as we all know, is queen or king, however you want to look at that. So that's, I think it's, if you haven't tried it, I'd definitely give it a try. It's a lot of fun to cook with.
And Susan, I saw a couple comments pop in as Jeff was giving his more eloquent answer than I was able to.
No, you did great.
So it's only available in these frozen cubes here in the US. And, when you heard Jeff say the plant kind of can keep growing through 7 cycles, selling it fresh is a little problematic because it will keep going as long as there's enough moisture in its atmosphere. When it's frozen, it's slightly concentrated, as a fresh plant, it's probably 96-97% water. In the frozen form, it's concentrated down to 87% water approximately. And I saw somebody ask about the powdered form, not available here in the US. The frozen form is what's available here. Okay, and please resend the link for the website. We'll share that very shortly. So I'm going to go back and share some more slides, and then Jeff's going to get ready to do his demo. So,
and then we'll more questions at the end, Amy, because there's quite a few more.
Awesome. Glad that folks are listening closely, engaging, and wanting more from us, because we've got more to share. So you guys are going to get these recipes. They're going to be sent out, Susan, I presume, emailed out to all the attendees.
That's right.
Yep. So this is the Manki apple smoothie that you saw Jeff show you, and then the other version with walnuts. So more closely aligned with what that green Mediterranean diet research study looked at. And we took some questions. Okay, so I casually mentioned in the intro that you can live well with diabetes. I've done it for almost 44 years. I was diagnosed when I was 7 years old. I come from a family where my dad lived with type 1 for 56 years. His diagnosis got him out of serving in World War II. One cousin in each branch of his family, so my dad and 7 of his cousins, all had type 1. One of my dad's cousins, she lived for 72 years with it. She lived into her late 90s. So genetically, I'm pretty blessed with a forgiving genetic variant of type 1 diabetes. But I can tell you, and I know any of you out there who have already gotten the diagnosis, it's not an easy condition to live with. You can do it well, but it's a chronic disease that continues to evolve and change, and it's really challenging. So if you are struggling, I'd say talk to Susan, talk to a dietitian in your local community, get more advice from somebody who can customize it to your lifestyle. If you've been told by your physician you have pre-diabetes, okay, let's get serious. Let's change that trajectory. Don't go all the way to the full diagnosis. So here's what we know about diabetes in the US today. There are more than 34.2 million of us who have it. 1 in 5 adults who has it, they don't know they have it. So they're walking around, not managing it, not dealing with it, and it's causing some damage in their arteries, possibly to their kidneys, to their vision. A lot of people don't find out about diabetes until they go to an eye doctor and they're like, man, my vision has been changing so much. There are even more Americans who have prediabetes. 1 out of 3 Americans has prediabetes, 1 out of 3 American adults. That's a lot of people. And that's, a lot of potential strain on our healthcare system, on healthcare costs. And even greater number of folks with prediabetes don't know that they have it. I think for me, my dad died of a sudden heart attack. I was 29 years old. He was 76. He is not unusual in that that's what ended his life, because cardiovascular disease is the most common cause of disease, disability, and death in people with diabetes. So every single day when I wake up and I adjust my attitude on having this disease, the attitude adjustment is you need to do everything possible today to reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and manage this disease well. I only have a couple things on my bucket list. I want to drive the Wienermobile. If anybody has a connection, let's talk. And I want to be around for my 50th wedding anniversary, which means I got to live to be 87 years old at least. So, I'm highly motivated by some of my goofy and serious goals. And I'm not kidding about the Wienermobile, people. So, what is it about the green Mediterranean diet that is so beneficial for diabetes? Well, you saw in the research, the folks who ate the green Mediterranean diet had more significant drops in insulin resistance. Now, they had lost a little bit of weight, right? 12 pounds over 6 months. That often helps with insulin resistance. They had decreased abdominal adiposity, so much smaller waist. And when I was talking about that naughty abdominal fat, if you carry your weight around your thighs, you maybe don't like that. That's where a lot of women carry their weight. If you've had that pear shape, you may not like that. You may feel insecure in a bathing suit or whatnot. But if you're carrying it around your waist, sometimes it's easier to hide, but you're not hiding from the metabolic effects. It's doing negative things to your cardiovascular system, to your liver. And so finding ways to reduce that abdominal adiposity, that fat around your midsection, is really powerful for health protection. And remember, in the Predimed study, where the participants did not lose weight, but they ate those nuts with the phenols, and they were drinking very little sugar sweetened beverage, they had a lower risk of having more fat around their waist. So I'm hoping you're finding things here that are empowering to you, little nuggets that you can use to reduce your risk. Okay, let's go back to smoothies. Did Jeff and I make the point that we're kind of big fans of smoothies? Here's a number of reasons why. I want people to get breakfast for many, many reasons. Breakfast eaters tend to eat more fruits and vegetables overall. They tend to get more fiber, more calcium in their diets. But if you're a breakfast skipper, you're increasing your risk of developing diabetes. Why would you let a habit like that increase your risk of a very miserable, and I'm just going to say it, shitty chronic disease? If you're a breakfast skipper, let's find a way to get you to incorporate breakfast more often. Foods with high water, protein, and fiber content are the most filling, the most satiating is kind of the nerdy dietitian term, but they keep you going and feeling fuller longer, more satisfied. Well, what's a smoothie? Well, if your smoothie has Manki, you're getting that great plant-based protein. You're getting fiber. Manki is a good source of protein and fiber. You're getting lots of water. What are fruits and vegetables? They're mostly water. Most fruits and vegetables are 95 to 97% water. And then finally, that protein and fiber is slowing down that release of the carbs from things like the fruits in your smoothies. And different fruits have different, impact on how quickly that carb gets into your bloodstream. But, a fruit and veggie based smoothie is a really powerful way to start your day for so many reasons. All right. Enough of the talking dietitian, right? Like Amy's just spazzing out, waiting for her first glass of red wine. Let's go back to Jeff's kitchen for his rock star culinary demo. So Jeff, I'm going to stop sharing again and throw it back to you.
All right. Next week, Thanksgiving. Maybe you've heard about it. It's a big holiday, and everyone voted sides. Not everyone. Many people voted sides as raise your hand if you voted sides on the screen here. All right. As the favorite part of Thanksgiving. So we wanted to give you a kind of a fun side dish to do that fits right into the green Mediterranean diet, but it also gives you a little something extra to cross utilize in different meals throughout the week. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a roasted carrot with tahini and Manki carrot top pesto. That is a mouthful, but I don't know if you've ever made carrot top pesto or even ever utilized a whole vegetable before, but it's a really great way to kind of minimize waste and kind of do something really fun and unique that you can talk to your guests about. So I picked up a couple of bunches of carrots with the tops attached. If you've never used them before, please don't be intimidated. It's not hard at all to do them. What you're going to do is you're going to cut off these tops, leaving about 2 inches of green or so at the top that you can see there. And then you're going to strip the tender leaves and stems off the top, just like you would if you were picking apart herbs. Now I'm going to cut the other one off here. And then the other thing that you would do is you just take these carrots, and if they're rather large like these ones, you might want to cut them in half. And that's what I do in order to roast them. So just a simple cut in half. And if they're smaller, you don't need to worry about it, but then you get this beautiful inside of the carrot. I like to cut them in half anyway, because I like that sort of showpiece from them. And we've cut them all here. You're going to toss these in some olive oil, and or if you have some garlic oil as well, it's a nice way to add a layer of flavor on there. Salt, pepper. Roast these in your oven at around 400 to 425 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. You don't want them to be mush. You want them to have a little body to them so that they can hold up for some of the next steps. And through the magic of TV, we're going to go ahead and pull out some carrots that were done earlier today. But first, let's just take a look at these greens. This is really, I think, one of the most fun parts about this dish. So you're just going to literally pull with your fingers. You make like a pinch, and you pull, and it rips all of those tender leaves right off of there. And then it leaves these kind of tougher stems, and those can just go into the compost bin. And then you're going to take all of those, and when that's done, what you end up with is a bowl of leafy greens that looks like that. So that's not quite as much as you would need to make the pesto. It's a big, probably 2-cup measure that you end up with from all of those carrots. Now, carrot greens are not as tender, even though you're picking the tender leaves and stems, as, let's say, basil when you're making pesto, or parsley. So you're going to want to blanch this. What does blanch mean? Boiling water. Very simple. Just drop it into boiling water for 30 seconds and then shock it in ice water. And shocking, very important step, because if you don't shock, it just keeps on cooking, and it's going to overcook and turn dark green and kind of mushy. So after you've blanched them, ice water. And that's when you get these beautiful, look at how they turn this gorgeous bright green color. And that's going to make the basis and the body of the pesto, along with your Manki. So it's a really fun way to do something a little bit different. And I know we're probably going to need to move more quickly here, as I think we're coming up on the top of the hour. So I'll go quick. What you do to make this pesto is very simple. You take your Cuisinart, as I bump my camera here, or your food processor or your blender, and you're going to add in your carrot greens. You're going to add in your Manki. It's about 6 cubes. I know there's only 4 here, but trust me. You got some pine nuts. If you don't like pine nuts, you can use walnuts. Remember, cross utilization in the kitchen is fine. So it's about 1/3 cup of pine nuts. I have a couple of cloves of garlic here as well. This is probably the most complex part of this dish. It's not hard at all. Optional Parmesan cheese if you want it. And then you're going to drizzle in 3/4 cup of olive oil. And when that is all done, you're going to end up with a pesto that looks something like this. Now you can adjust the amount of that olive oil up or down if you like a thicker pesto or a thinner one, depending on how you're using it. I like to leave it a little thicker. That way I can always choose to thin it out later. So now we'll move some of these ingredients out of the way here. And your carrots are roasting. You can do this pesto while the carrots are roasting. But actually before that, you're going to end up with so much more pesto than you need for this recipe. So what do you do with it all? Well, I mentioned that you could potentially use it in other ways throughout the week. Amy and I brainstormed a few, so we thought we'd share some. This is a beautiful butternut squash soup where I put a couple of quenelles of that pesto in there, and you could stir that up and make that maybe with a nice piece of ciabatta or a whole wheat toast. That would be a delicious lunch. This is actually what I had for lunch earlier today. My wife and I had this. I made some whole wheat pasta, and I tossed it with the pesto and some roasted butternut squash, or whatever's in season where you live. I was talking to a friend in Florida, and they're still selling tomato plants in Florida. So, I mean, maybe some delicious tomatoes would be, if it works for you. We're out of tomatoes here in Boston, but I love this pesto thing. I can make a big batch of this pasta, stir in the pesto, and then use it in a bunch of different salads and dishes throughout the week.
Jeff,
Also,
I'm thinking about the turkey sandwiches that everybody's going to be eating next week, right? With the turkey leftovers and a little smear of that pesto on the turkey sandwich.
Exactly. Right on the bottom, you got the cranberry sauce, you got the turkey, maybe a little stuffing, a little kind of hint at that. This is a bruschetta. So this is a sourdough toast, pesto smeared on top with some goat cheese and some honey. Right. So this, I want to eat this right now. I'm not, it's almost 7:30 here. I'm ready for this and a glass of red wine. Serve this if you're going to make this dish for Thanksgiving as an appetizer for your guests as they arrive. Put something in their mouths right away so they don't have to talk to you. But it all depends on what you're trying to do.
Wine and a bruschetta.
Exactly. I didn't mention it before, but there's also parsley or basil in the pesto as well. It's all in the recipe. Super easy to make. So then all you have to do, use a pot holder if your oven's actually on. But take these carrots out of the oven. These look fantastic. Just simply roast it up. And then you'll take the carrots, and I'm only going to do a small amount of these just to give you the idea of what we're doing here. You would put them in the bowl, and you're going to add some Manki, probably about 1/3 to 1/2 cup for the whole recipe. And you're going to toss these carrots with the Manki pesto. And they're going to be warm, so they're going to do a little bit better job than probably I will right here, dispersing that pesto. But it gives you that nice color contrast of the orange and the green. And it's just so fall-like, as you think about all of those Thanksgiving dishes. And you'll grab your platter here. There's also a little tahini sauce that you can make as well. It's just some store-bought tahini with a little water and a little lemon juice. And you're going to want to stir that water and lemon juice and some salt together, and just keep adding water until you get something that has the texture of a sauce, or, like sometimes they'll say it's the texture of honey when it's done. But these carrots just beautifully lay out on the plate. You've got those lovely little green tips at the top. People are going to be so wowed by this. And then you can take a little of that tahini sauce that you made earlier and just drizzle it along the top.
Look at that.
Right? You can hopefully see that. Maybe put a little extra tahini in a bowl on the side. And then what I like to do is garnish with a little, one of my favorite secret spices, smoked paprika. If you haven't used smoked paprika, it's just absolutely fantastic. It adds a layer of complexity and flavor, and put it on top of that tahini sauce so you can see the contrast. And that's
You just killed it with this demo. This is so appealing. I'm going to try this next week for Thanksgiving. I think I'm going to try a little sage. I have a really robust sage plant in my backyard. Okay, I'm going to share just a couple more slides so everybody knows what's going on with how to get Manki. But Jeff, awesome job. So we're going to leave Jeff's kitchen. You're all going to get this recipe with all the instructions that Jeff just shared. So don't worry if you were taking notes fast and furious, this is coming to you. We've got one final quick poll question for you, super quick. The poll question is, we want to know how many of you are looking forward to trying Manki. Maybe you want to try one of Jeff's recipes. You want to check out all the recipes on our website. So let's see where folks are at with their, interest in trying this novel, the world's smallest green leafy vegetable. Comes in frozen forms out of Israel. All right. I'm hoping for positivity. I'm hoping that like the majority are like, yeah, I'm interested. So let's see what the results are.
There we go.
Nice. All right. So the one person who said nope, Jeff and I'll come to your house with some free Manki and we'll cook for you. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. So
Old offer.
the promised slide. So this is the Manki offer details that you'll see on your Castle Connolly website, the offer details, but you don't even have to go through the Castle Connolly site. You can go to eatmanki.com and just use the code Eat More Greens. And that's what we want you all to do. Adopt a more green Mediterranean diet by incorporating more greens. And you get 15% off. So we hope you'll take advantage of this offer that is only available for the Castle Connolly members. So don't be sharing this at your Thanksgiving table with your, cousin from Albuquerque. All right. Do we have time for a few final questions? I know we're right up at the top of the hour here, or bottom of the hour.
Yeah, if you stop sharing. So I just want to kind of pull it all together for everybody. And first of all, I'm going to thank Jeff and Amy so very much, because I will say above all else, as I say, this is my goal, is to inspire and empower people. I'm so inspired. So if others aren't as inspired as I am, I can't help you, and I cook all the time. So I'm thrilled. One thing I'm going to say is it wasn't a question, more of a comment on those carrot greens. Jeff, this is awesome, because I just got them in my farm box. I have butternut squash from earlier this week. I'm going to do that and serve it up. So thank you for just these really inspiring ideas, the beautiful, beautiful presentation. Both of you, fabulous information. I want to basically say we are running out of time to answer all those great questions. What I do want to tell all of our members is that you can contact me with any of those questions. That I'm happy to answer them about the study results. I can give you more of the scientific research. I did send out my newsletter today, believe it or not, with this blog article all about the green Mediterranean diet and weight loss. So please take a look at that little prompt there if you didn't see that in your inbox. And then in addition, the follow-up with the recording will have the information on this specific offer to try Manki yourself. It will include the recipes. And then again, with any other specific questions, please email me. And I can also, I know probably Jeff or Amy would be willing to answer some more questions as well that I would then forward to them. So I'm sorry to say this so quickly, but it was just such an amazing presentation with fabulous information. Amy and I are very passionate. As an aside, we've been friends since grad school at Tufts many, many years ago, and love sharing this information and educating people and staying on top of it. And that's why, getting these secrets out, because it shouldn't be a secret. So with that said, I want to thank everybody and wish everybody just a very happy, beautiful Thanksgiving. I can give you guys each, if you want to say another final word, but again, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for such a fabulous presentation tonight.
Thanks for this opportunity, Susan. It was really a pleasure to join you here this evening. Jeff, thanks for the great collaboration, and to all of you out there, happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great night, everybody, and thank you again for being here. So we'll end on that note. I'm gonna go eat. Starving now. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.